Good morning, fellow sovereigns. I'm a day late. I normally do this on a Wednesday. Life happened. So I'm doing this, and then I'm off to Brisbane, an hour away, and meeting up with some writers today. So I was going to do a deeply emotional one, and using ping pong balls again. But that might have to be for next week, because something kind of interesting and quirky turned up. Less heavy than what I was going to do, and I don't feel very heavy today. So at the moment I'm reading a book by Miles Anderson, who was a Rhodesian, and then he moved to London, became an actor, and did lots of other things. And one of the things I just read about this morning is that he was the first man to fly on stage. So he was the first man to play Peter Pan. And of course, Peter Pan has to fly around the stage on a harness with wires and all sorts of things, and sometimes those harnesses don't work. Crash, bang, oops, ouch. So anyway, the first harnesses that were actually made were made for women. Big deal. And so when he became the first man to use these harnesses. What they found was that women have a lower center of gravity. So when a man puts on a woman's harness, as Miles had to, he had to purposely lift his head up and lean back, otherwise he would topple forward. And because men, it turns out, have a higher center of gravity. And so he, doing the play, because we'd rehearse it for 10 weeks, and then the play would go on for many weeks. So he was doing this a lot, and he got a very sore back, and he got piles. So instead of Peter Pan, he was called Peter Piles. Anyway, it just reminded me that men and women are different. So one thing is women have a lower center of gravity. And a little thing happened the other day. My partner was here and she flushed the toilet, and the water kept going and going. And I said, sometimes that happens and you have to push the right hand button down. Just tap it and the water will stop. So she went back and did that. She said, it's not working. She was pushing the left hand button down. I said, no, you have to push the right hand button down. Oh, you call that the right hand button? I said, yes, I'm looking at the toilet. And that's the right hand. Sorry, I'm back to front. Yeah, you push the left-hand button down. But anyway, she was looking at it as if she was on the toilet and what would be the left-hand button. So I was looking at it from this way. She was opposite. Which then reminded me that, 20 years ago, I was talking to a receptionist. What are they called? Director of First Impressions. And so she was working for this very large company, and everybody had to sign a form when they went in. It's a security thing. And so she had these pile of blank forms, and there was a box for the completed forms. So you signed your form, and there was a label that she had on the desk that said, please leave form facing forward. Anyway, I forget the actual wording, but what she wanted was all the forms to be left in the same order, because she then had to file them away. So if all of them were, the heading was up there and the bottom was down here, they were all the same. But what she found was, most of the time, 90-something% of the time, the men would leave the form in the box so that it could be read from the person filling it out. Whereas the women always left it the other way round so that she could read it. So the same instruction, women take it one way, men take it the other way. She just thought it was funny. I said, well, why don't you have one box for men and one for women? And she said, oh, I never thought of that. Then she could just, then they were easily filed. And I don't know if you noticed, but if you're a woman and you're looking at your fingernails, you'll do that. What do men do? They can do that. They'll look at them from, just tiny things that we do differently. And it's not, all 99%, 100% of the time. But generally, women will look at their own fingernails that way, whereas men will look at their fingernails that way. I don't know. It's just it's just one of those strange things. So I think we are different. There's something, and I know there's if you like, anomalies. In a sense that there are people who find themselves born into the wrong body and want to change their gender. And there are men who prefer dressing as women and women prefer dressing as men. But in general, we are different. And we explain things differently, and I don't know, maybe men are more practical and women are more need bigger explanations, and I don't know. There's a whole it's a whole study. But when we look at men and women, I think we're meant to be different. I mean, obviously biologically we have to be different, otherwise we don't have any more people on the planet. And I just think it's really simple, and it's kind of nice. Those little fingernail things, or the what's left and right, whether we're looking at it or looking at it. And it seems to be an anatomical fact that our centre of gravity is in a different place. And one would assume that it's got something to do with the fact that women have a certain body to carry babies and deliver them, whereas men can't do that. We do other things. So I just think it's nice that we are different. It's lovely. And let's just celebrate that. And just bask in difference. And how simple and lovely it is that, people do things one way, other people do things in a different way. Some people hear this, some people hear that. Some people tie their shoelaces up this way. I was taught by my mother, who was left-handed, how to tie my shoelaces. And then other people tell me to do it, and I'm backwards now, you see. We're different. There's left-handers and right-handers and men and women. And so on. There are differences. So I just think, isn't it lovely? Isn't it lovely that we can disagree and stay friends? That we can see the world in a different way and stay friends? Let's not have this need to be everyone agreeing with me, or us, or our side, and all these sides. Isn't it lovely that we can just see the world differently, that we can disagree and still be lovely human beings with each other? And that, my darlings, is all I have to say. So I wish you some nice differences, and let us celebrate every single one of them. And I bless you and all who sail in her.